Hello and welcome to the 5 Minute Film Club, and today I'm talking about the 24th James Bond adventure, Spectre. Judi Dench's Dead M has sent Bond on an unauthorised mission to kill a man called Marco Sciarra, a terrorist leader who is planning a bomb attack. Bond finds him in Mexico and after a spectacular helicopter fight ends up killing him and taking his ring that has a symbol of an octopus on it. Ralph finds his M, Mallory, however, isn't pleased with Bond's little side mission, as he is trying to fend off new arrival Max Denby, or C, as Bond calls him. C is the head of a new privately backed intelligence operation that will combine MI5 and MI6. And of course, as an audience, we know that he is evil, because he's played by Andrew Scott. M grounds Bond, however, but we all know that's a completely futile exercise, as Bond heads out to Rome to be at the funeral of Sciarra, the man he threw out of the helicopter in Mexico. He's there to see whether he can learn a little bit more about the organisation he worked for. He meets Sciarra's lovely widow, played by the equally lovely Monica Bellucci, who tells him about a meeting taking place, and Bond pops on Sciarra's ring and heads there. In the meeting room, he sees a shadowy leader, a Franz Oberhauser, played by Christoph Waltz, at the head of the table, who is asking for someone to take out the Pale King, and an assassin called Mr. Hinks, played by Dave Bautista, steps forward to take on the challenge. Bond is then getting chased through the streets of Rome by Mr. Hinks, after Franz Oberhauser says, "Hello James," and "cuckoo," and all of that kind of stuff. Bit weird, but quite sinister when it happens, especially from Christoph Waltz. Anyway, while this is all going on, Bond's on the phone to Moneypenny asking what on earth the Pale King is. Well, he then discovers that the Pale King is actually Mr. White, that mysterious person from Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. Well, we learn that Quantum is now a defunct offshoot of Spectre, this global terrorism organisation. And for me, this is the first bit of real muddling of plot that happens in Spectre. The fact that they didn't have the right to use Spectre, the name Spectre, when they did Quantum of Solace, so they kind of created Quantum, this other organisation that would take the place of Spectre. Then suddenly they acquired the rights to Spectre and all of those other names like Blofeld. And so here they're like, well, actually, no, let's just use Spectre. Let's get rid of Quantum, but we'll just say it was like a separate arm of this weird octopus symbol of Spectre. Bond finds Mr. White dying in a wooden hut in Austria, and there he asks Bond to protect his daughter from Spectre, Madeleine Swan, played by Léa Seydoux. She is a psychiatrist, and Bond goes for some evaluation there at her retreat, and also to gain some information again on her father's connection to Spectre, and to find a place Mr. White called L'Américain. Also at this retreat is Q, again played by Ben Whishaw, who is really there just to try and get Bond back to MI6. Madeleine tells Bond that L'Américain is a hotel that Mr. White and her mum would go to every anniversary. And when they get there, they discover that there is a secret room with all sorts of surveillance equipment from Spectre, containing information including VHS tapes on Vesper, and there is also a map to a meteor crater in the Sahara Desert where they find Oberhauser's secret lair. And it's at this crater that we discover the thing that we all knew going into watching Spectre, and that is the fact that Oberhauser and Christoph Waltz is actually Blofeld. Why this film goes to quite such lengths to throw us off the scent, I don't know. They should have just been upfront and said that this is Blofeld, and then just get on with it. I think the old-fashioned car that picks them up and takes them to this inverted volcano layer from You Only Live Twice is really great. And then, of course, the glimpse of the white cat. Anyway, Blofeld it is, and he does some strange surgery on Bond, and we discover that the reason why he is the way he is because after the death of Bond's parents, James was fostered by Oberhauser's dad, and little Franz was jealous about the attention young Bond was getting from his father, so killed his dad and faked his death and changed his name to Blofeld. I'm not sure what's going on with the surgery in this scene either. Blofeld is kind of saying that he can remove a bit of Bond's brain with this little like dental drill, and if he gets the right place in his brain, he will erase Bond's ability to recognise faces, and it will mean he won't remember who Madeleine is. Anyway, Bond then doesn't have his memory wiped or whatever's going on, and he manages to blow up the room and escape with Madeline. And then back in London, there's all sorts of nonsense going on between C trying to take over MI6 and firing M. At this point, I thought we were going to get something really interesting. I thought somebody was going to burst in and M get arrested for killing C and all of that kind of stuff going on. All that we really learn is that C works for Spectre. Blofeld arrives in London, now complete with the Donald Pleasence scar, and kidnaps Madeline to get back at Bond. But you've guessed it, Bond escapes the MI6 building that Blofeld has rigged to blow with Madeline, and Blofeld saunters off in his helicopter until Bond, with an amazing aim, shoots it out of the sky. Blofeld survives the crash, and Bond can either kill him or run away with Madeline. Bond, of course, chooses the girl and drifts off into the sunset in a brand new, refurbished Aston Martin DB5 as Blofeld is captured and detained, and Madeline and Bond drive off into the sunset. You've probably guessed that I didn't like this film when I first watched it at the cinema. All the way through, I was just thinking, this is not the follow-up to Skyfall that I wanted. It's just tying itself up in knots, and it really doesn't know what it's trying to do or where it's trying to go. It wants to include Blofeld, but it should have just included Blofeld rather than this Franz Oberhauser nonsense and say that it's a red herring. We all knew what was going on, and it's so unsatisfying to have a James Bond that sticks to the James Bond formula of him finding a clue, going to point B, finding another clue, going to point C, and doing that. But in those early Sean Connery films, we were piecing it together with Bond. In Spectre, we've guessed what's coming at the end. And so we're just looking at a kind of stupid and aimless James Bond going from point to point around the globe and going, well, yeah, I could have told you that ages ago, Bond, if you'd just asked us. I also don't get the relationship between Madeline and Bond. It feels like they needed to have this big romance that happened in this film. But I just don't believe that Daniel Craig and Lea Seydoux are actually invested in their characters or in each other at all. You know, Daniel Craig is giving a performance akin to, like, Sean Connery in You Only Live Twice and Diamonds Are Forever. He's completely checked out. For me, I much prefer watching Quantum of Solace. Now that might sound bananas, but on an enjoyment level, I'd rather watch Quantum of Solace. It's a lot shorter for starters. Now I know that Spectre, technically speaking, is a much better film, but I don't want to watch it again. Even though Daniel Craig, immediately after finishing Spectre, said to a journalist, I'd rather slit my wrists than do another one, Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson managed to work on him somehow and persuaded him to come back. So next time, I will be reviewing the final James Bond in this James Bond rewatch series. I've got to the end, and that is Daniel Craig's final outing in No Time to Die. So thank you very much for watching my review of Spectre, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!